Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast, where each week we speak with brands, icons, innovators, and trailblazers within the fly fishing industry, exploring both the successes and failures they've encountered along the way to become who they are today. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast or joined our email list, please do so by going to the flyfisherinsiderpodcast.com, or you can also find us on Instagram at Fly Fisher Insider Podcast. Now let's begin. Today's guest is Brandon Esposito, owner and master rod builder of Classic Custom Rods. Brandon is an avid fly angler and passionate rodsmith. Brandon recently left his day job to focus on building his business. Brandon has now become extremely successful and well recognized as a premium rod builder amongst his peers within the fly fishing industry. Classic Custom Rods offers over 100 different rod styles and blanks, as well as reel seat options. But not only are they known for their premium rods, but in their value of innovation, quality, satisfaction lies within every rod and customer experience. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Can you tell us something about you and your business that we already don't know about?
Yeah, for sure. The company was founded in September of 2018. Prior to that, I was building rods, but not professionally yet. I hadn't started a company, so I built plenty of rods before I decided to start going legit with it. When Classic Custom Rods did launch, I produced so far in the year of 2018 15 rods. So it's busier than I expected. And the cool thing about it is I'm kind of all over the place with rods right now. I haven't really decided what I want to focus on exactly. So I'm kind of touching base in all the rod building categories, I guess. And it's exciting. So
when you say you're focusing in on rods, are you diversifying between like a spay rod, a switch rod, fly rod, a bait caster? Okay.
Yeah, the styles of fishing. I haven't really been too much into bait casting. I haven't done that much fishing of that style in my lifetime, so I kind of haven't done any of those. But spay, ice rods, fly fishing, mooching rods. I would eventually like to get into bamboo as well. It'd be an interesting challenge. For now, I'm just focusing on the regular conventional ways of fishing.
Can you bring us back to the moment when you decided that this is what I want to do? I want to put my career on hold and get into rod building and make a living at it. And you're doing a damn good job at it.
You know, for me, I searched a long time to try to figure out what I wanted to do. When I started building rods and people encouraging me and saying, you know, you're doing a pretty good job. I think you can make something out of this. That's where I'm sitting right now. But to go back to where it all started in 2014. My dad said to me, he goes, hey, you started tying your own flies. What if you start building your own rods? And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So what I did is I just found this rod building class. At the time, I had no idea about the process, but I was curious as to how someone builds a fly rod. I fell in love. I purchased a couple rods for myself, just to trial and error kind of thing. And one build after another, I found myself saying, okay, well, I can do this. I'm confident in doing this. And like I said before, I wasn't currently happy with my job at that point. So I said, what the heck, I'll start my own business. And I fully engaged in it. I dove right into it head first. I started realizing what people wanted and what their idea is.
I'm going to get you to hold on to that because that's absolutely important, as a rod builder or any business, like knowing what your demographic wants. And if you could nail that already when you're into business, you're doing fantastic, Brendan, because if you're giving the demand to your people on the custom rods that they want, and you've identified that target market, like that is, that's there. That's exactly what we're looking for in any business is looking for. I mean, you've identified that niche. So, hey, can you, take us back to a moment, Brandon? Recall some of the failures and challenges that you had earlier on in the business and how you've actually overcome them.
Sure. I mean, yeah. To be honest, as when it comes to the business itself, I haven't had any many big failures yet. It's fairly new, but in saying that, it's inevitable. They are going to happen. It's business, but I'm excited for it. I always wanted to have my own company one day, and the fact that I'm doing it with what I love it's perfect. I can't ask for anything better.
So then what would your takeaway be from that? If you were to encounter some failures, just keep going, pursuing it?
Absolutely. Perseverance is important. If you just give up on what you love, then there's so much you're leaving out. I mean, it's not all easy. Everything we do is hard, but unfortunately, you just got to keep going. That's the only answer I have.
It's funny that you mentioned earlier, your very first rod building kit, and you mentioned that you were building these rods and your dad had bought you these kits and whatnot. How would you describe the rods from when you first started to where you are now? Because I've seen your rods now, and they're fantastic. The build is there, the quality's there, and you can tell that your heart and soul are put into these rods. So, how would you describe the transition of progression to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. I still have the very first rod I built. The reason I kept it is, it's like tying your first fly. You keep that as well, right? And as I progressed and as I moved on, I kept looking back at that rod, and I was like, wow, I've come a long way. And you just have to, and this isn't just rod building. This is if you just want to continue to grow. You have to find new ways. You have to constantly be watching your competition in the market and see how they're evolving, and then how can you do it even better. And every build I try to just do even one minor detail better than what I did the build before. I think that's how you continue to grow and to push yourself.
Couldn't agree more with what you're saying about that. So if you were to what are you focused on products? Like you're trying to focus in, you mentioned earlier again, like you're still trying to diversify your field, but if you have one passion or one focus in that does well for you and that you like to produce, what would it be?
It's hard to pinpoint it on just one. I have focused on fly fishing. That's the style of fishing that I do out in Calgary here. So it's when I'm in Alberta, I fly fish and I focus on building rods. But then I started going to BC and I started fishing, Arrow Lakes and Kootenay Lake and getting in to that style of fishing. So I said, well, let's focus on mooching rods.
Both Great Lakes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, so
been there. Yeah.
And and those rods out there, they excel and they're so much fun to build. And it's cool because, with fly rods, you got to focus on weight and distribution and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to mooching rods, you're not worried about weight. So you can do whatever you want to those rods. It's kind of fun to build them. And
yeah, they're like tanks.
Exactly. Yeah. You can put as much thread, as much glue. It doesn't matter as long as it's durable. So I've been focusing mainly on fly rods and mooching rods, but at the same time, I'm never just closed doors to everything. I want to know how to do every single build. For now, the website's launched and the products are up there. It's just fly rods right now, but people that know me, they know I'll do pretty much any build, to be honest.
So you do again, all custom builds of rods.
Yes.
It's just getting in touch with you and working that
exactly.
out. So with that said, Brandon, what advice would you give to any new company or any fly fishing insider audience member that might be sitting there thinking on their way to work, listening to this podcast? Hey, I think I build rods. I want to build a rod company. What advice do you have for that person starting out on their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's rod building or, fly fishing or fishing in general, it's somewhat, for me personally, when I joined this, I was intimidated by it. I was fishing intimidated me when I would see almost my peers, you could say, in the fly fishing world. They're really good. And sometimes they don't share information. And I didn't like that. So when I first got into fishing and I started, evolving and getting better at it, I would tell all my friends what's going on and you should do this and you should work on your casting and you should talk to guides and communicate as much as possible because it's all about helping each other out in this industry. And it's about,
I agree.
Yeah. And that was a cloud over me, you could say. It was just, it didn't sit with me right. And I wanted to help people as much as I could. And, that's not fishing. That's in life general. You just got to get involved and do the best you can.
No, 100% agree with you. It seems like there's almost like a stigma around, fly fishing with the information us fly fishers withhold from each other and whatnot. When in fact, we should be sharing amongst the community and amongst members and encouraging the growth of the sport, as well as, newer businesses and newer ideas. Because we as a community or a tribe will only grow even more as fly fishers. And I mean, come on, we all love the sport, right? So let's not embrace that and share our knowledge. I like to know when I'm going somewhere, or I like to know about brands. That's why we started a podcast. That's why you're doing this. And this is why it's getting this knowledge out to others and getting this inspiration out. So I couldn't agree more with what you said on that. Brandon, can you tell the audience about the various platforms and growth of your social media aspects and other aspects of where your business is and how you're positioning your business for us in the community to see that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in today, social media is very powerful. Today's day and age, it's what's mostly used to expand businesses. And And, fortunately for me, I met some people in the fishing industry that were helped me, grow as a business and help make videos and instructional, messages and just getting the point across. And I started up a website and I put in custom order forms and I put in a live chat option. And to me, especially in this, rod building is establishing a relationship with the customer. I don't want you to just pay for the rod. I want to get to know you and I want to build this rod. I feel like some people, they're just looking for money, and that's not the case here. It's getting to know your customer on a more personal level, explaining to them that, I'm your guy, I can do this, and I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this build.
100%. Getting to know your customer on a personal level is well said, Brandon. Again, that goes back to the basics of business. It goes back to the heart and soul of what a good company is all about. And when we know our customer on a personal level and our customer knows us on a personal level, they're more likely and inclined to purchase from us, and they form a connection, and a real, genuine connection, which I couldn't agree more with you. With that being said, I wanted to shift gears towards what you might feel are some common myths about the fly fishing industry.
Almost what I touched in previous before is that intimidation factor with beginners and stuff like that. And, I did experience it firsthand. I went to guide school a couple of years back. I was completely intimidated, but I had one thing in mind, and that was eventually that I want to guide one day. So, whether I got to deal with those awkward feelings or whatnot of jumping into something, you just got to do it. And
where'd you go to guide school, Brandon?
I was in Calgary. It was hosted with fly fishing outfitters, Josh Nugent, Dana Lattery, Akash Bob, all those three guides, and they formed this this school where upcoming guides, if they're interested in it, they can go there. So it was interesting.
Excellent. Good to know. I know Dana's a pretty good guy. We have been talking to him recently as well.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, he's very involved.
So when you were in guide school, how does that translate into the rod building? Did you bring any of those skills with you? Did you bring any customer demands over to your business? So what did you bring from that aspect, from the past of the guide school into your business to where you are now?
Well, absolutely. One thing I learned in guide school is managing people's expectations, really connecting with them on a personal basis. And when I was in guide school, I hadn't really had a plan of starting up my own rod building company, but as time evolved, it did. And I brought a lot of things over. But what was nice with guide school is that it didn't just teach you about fishing; it helped you as a person as well.
Of course, it would.
Yeah, and the biggest thing we would focus on is connecting with your client. What's going to make them come back, right? And what's going to stand out. And I've really brought that into this company. Is I just want to stand out, but at the same time, I want to be myself. To me, it's just, how can I evolve just every day, even if it's minor or if it's big, it doesn't matter. Just getting better every day.
Yeah. You definitely are standing out in this market, in this field that you're pursuing, Brandon. That's for sure. I know that you're absolutely killing it in the social aspect, in the customer service, and in the product, most importantly. So we all have one thing in the industry that gets under our skin. What's that one thing for you?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think it would just be the communication factor. There is people out there that just don't like to talk. And I don't believe in that, especially as a community. We're all supposed to be talking and like you said before, get that connection going, that genuine connection, and helping each other out. To me, there's nothing better than watching your friends succeed. Some people just need help. That's all it is. Being there for one another, I think, is important.
We all have those things. I know my thing is always seeing the faces of social media that are sitting there holding fish that they haven't caught.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Brandon, we're at the part here right now where we take our FQAs from our listeners. Brandon, how many days a year do you fish?
Oh, if I had to put a number on it, it would probably be between 150 to 180.
Wow.
Yeah. Weather permitting, right? So.
And that's in Calgary though, right?
Yeah.
And I know the weather in Calgary can be a little mean sometimes.
Yes. As long as it's plus temps, I'm on the water. So.
Awesome. What's your best fishing trip? The place and location, Brandon?
A couple years ago, I went to Pyramid Lake in Nevada. And,
Lucky.
That was incredible.
Just tell us about that.
It was interesting. I mean, I saw tons of videos on it on Instagram, and I messaged my buddy and I said, let's go here. This is crazy. When you can fish 30-pound Lahontan cutthroats on a 7 or 8 weight rod, I mean, I'm sold. Now, you don't catch those every cast, but
of course
you have the hope of catching that every cast. So we went down for 3 days and fished 12, 14-hour days in blistering winds, standing on top of a ladder, not knowing, this is completely different fishing the shelves. And, on the last hour of my third day, I caught a 12-pound cutthroat. So it was
unreal.
It was amazing, and it was worth every bit of it.
Nice. Wow. That's truly memorable. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fly gear setup?
For dries, I just use your 4-weight 9-foot or even an 8-6. It helps with accuracy and stuff. For nymphs, I'll just go a 5 or a 6. Depends where you're fishing too. 6 for streamers. When it comes to a favorite style of fishing, I love fishing them all. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than watching a fish come up and eating a dry. Oh, it's exhilarating. But when it comes to numbers, you can fish nymphs. And when if also exciting is streamer fishing. I mean, it's a blast.
I know when I've been on the bow, I fished streamers, and that was back in March.
Yeah.
What was it? 2017, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It was cold.
It was cold, but it's rewarding at the same time, right?
It definitely is. Yeah.
It's a world-class river, and it's got the capabilities of producing some really decent fish.
100% couldn't agree more. And it's right in your backyard too.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Calgary is pretty lucky. If you had just one fly in your fly box, what would it be?
Well, I do fish lots of lakes in BC as well. And, if I had to toss it up, it would be a leech. It's the most effective. It works year round. It's just, for me, it's been one of my favorites.
I am the same. I have 3 of them on my visor of my truck.
Yeah, they're always good to have, and they're
very
effective fly.
When did you start fly fishing, and how many years has it been?
I started fishing when I was 5. I started fly fishing when I was about 14 or 15. So I've been in fly fishing for nearly 12 years, and I've been fishing for just over 20. So pretty much what I've been doing my whole life.
And what's your favorite water to fish? It
would have to either be a smaller lake, high mountain lake, or I love fishing the Bow River. It's one of my favorites.
Biggest fish on a fly rod?
Like I mentioned, is that 12-pound cutthroat on Pyramid Lake.
Your dream trip and destination bucket list spot?
Oh, it would have to be Jurassic Lake in Argentina.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a few more anglers out there that share that.
Definitely on my list. I know that as well. So it is something about that lake, huh?
Yes. And then people keep posting Instagram pictures, and it drives me crazy, but it's fun to watch.
No, I hear you. All right, Brandon, before I let you go here, do you have any sales or products on special for any of our listeners right now?
There is some rods already built on the website that have some current sales already applied to them. They're 15% off right now, and that will be running until the end of January. At checkout, you just use capital CCR 15 for 15% off. And like I said before, there's the live chat option on the bottom right. Just give me a shout. We can connect instantly, and I can answer any of your questions.
I'll make sure I put all the details of that in the show notes after this episode. You'll be able to find it there. So, but Brandon, before we go, can you tell us where we can find you and where you're located?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, Classic Custom Rods. You can also find me on Facebook, Classic Custom Rods, the business page there as well. And you can go to my website at www.classiccustomrods.com. You can find everything you need there about classic builds. And I'm located in Calgary, Alberta.
Excellent. All right, Fly Insiders, you've been hanging out with Greg and Brandon on the Fly Fishing Insider podcast.